Hello and welcome to Batnik Crazy. My name is Maggie. Welcome back to all of you. I am so glad that you're here. It's so nice to see you again. And I'm so excited to share with you what the last week has brought to my world. So let's just dive right into it. If you remember, last week we were talking about my goals for the week, and one of the goals that I had was to finish the body on this beautiful Whitmore sweater. And I am happy to say, where is my little marker? Here's my little goat marker that I put on when last we spoke, and I have now finished the body of this. And this went really, really quickly. Probably because it's just stockinette the round for the body down until you get to the ribbing. I'd already done the complicated lace part at the top, and so it went really, really quickly. I just fell into the rhythm of those happy little V's, and yeah, just tore through this. I was actually done with the body within a couple of days of when we last spoke, including the ribbing and the bind off, which means this week, I have been spending a fair amount of time on Sleeve Island. So let's just take a moment and enjoy Sleeve Island. So as you can see from my voyage to Sleeve Island, I was able to finish the first sleeve as well of the Whitmore sweater by Amy Loudon. And I am super happy with it. Let me try it on for you, and I can show you where I am on this sweater. Keep in mind, the body and the sleeve have not been blocked. Only the yoke has been blocked. So just take that into account. Just a minute. I am so happy with this. This is just a beautiful, beautiful sweater. You can tell very clearly where I had blocked it. The body clearly needs to be blocked, but let me do a little of this action so you can see this beautiful sleeve, again, blocked down to about here already, and so the rest of it needs to. I did decide to do the bishop sleeve. I did not make it quite as long as the pattern wanted, but I think it has plenty of length before you get to the cuff, and I'm really happy with the length. So I ended up doing from the armpit 104 rounds. I put this little marker in when I hit 100, and then I did 4 more, and then I switched to my smaller needles for my cuff, and super, super happy with it. So now I just need to do this nakedness, need to cover that up with another sleeve, and then this one will officially be done. I just realized my braid has been inside it the whole time. But yeah, I'm so happy with this. And this is going to be my Christmas Eve dinner sweater for this year. I love this pattern. To me, it looks like a little snowflake has just sort of fallen and draped around the yoke of the sweater. Super happy with this. It is very warm. Even though I have my ceiling fan on high and my little Beyonce fan over here, it is still quite cozy here in Nebraska in July, August. I guess technically it's August now. This year is flying by. When did this happen? When did this happen? When did it become August already? Yeah, crazy. Anyway, so it is very warm to be wearing this, so I am going to switch out of it. But I wanted to show you, I did finish the body, and I finished a sleeve of happy little V's, all this beautiful stockinette, and then this was super easy too, because for the bishop sleeve, there are no decreases, no increases, nothing. It's literally just straight down until you decrease and do the cuff. So I didn't even have to think about it. It was amazing. It was one of the best Sleeve Island experiences I think I've ever had, because I could just sit there and just knit it, and then every once in a while measure it. And then when it got down to where I thought it might be getting to be a good length, tried it on. Then I went back and counted how many rows so I can make sure to do the other sleeve the same way. And yeah, ended up with 104. So this should be pretty quick, actually, to get this second sleeve completed. But I am roasting. So let me get back into my t-shirt. Whew. Okay, much better. Hopefully you can't hear the Beyonce fan or the ceiling fan. I am trying a new microphone this week, so hopefully the audio quality will be just a little bit better, but I'll have to wait and see in editing. I don't know. I am learning. Did you see I inserted pictures last week? That was so cool. I was so excited to figure out how to do that. Yay! Okay, so as a quick reminder, that Whitmore sweater by Amy Loudon, and I am using Knit Picks palette in the color Mist, and I am holding that with Emma's yarn. What is it called exactly? I've got a full one in here. Here we go. Marvelous Mohair, and the color is Iguana. So I have this still balled up. This is the ball that I was getting into, and then I still have one more 50 gram ball of the Knit Picks palette and a full skein of the mohair. So I'm not worried about running out of yarn. Should be able to get it completed pretty quickly. And I think for this one, I might decide to stay on Sleeve Island a little bit longer, because I really enjoyed this and it went really, really fast. That being said, let's talk about the other side of Sleeve Island last week. And that was my Mabel sweater. Now, don't get me wrong. I am very, very happy with this sweater and how it's coming out. Here is the marker that I put in last week. My goal was to finish this sleeve, and I finished it last night. However, what I will say is this was not quite as enjoyable a knitting experience. Now, the reason for that is not because of the pattern. It's not because of the stitch, the way the stitches are done. The decreases are actually quite fun because you're decreasing 3 stitches, which normally with decreases in a sleeve, you're doing, knit 2 together or slip, slip, knit. In this case, you're actually decreasing down 3 stitches, which is a little different than normal. So anytime something is a little different than what I'm used to, it's a little bit fun. And so I did enjoy it. What I didn't enjoy was the needles. So, just a reminder, this is the Mabel sweater by Joji Locatelli, and I am using Camper by Kelburn Woolens in the color Meadow Heather. This beautiful, beautiful green. I already have, this one is the one that I was working with, and I have one more 50-gram ball ready to go. And I actually have 2 more that I haven't actually broken into. So I haven't wound all of it up because I may not need to break into these, and I'd rather have them as hanks back in the stash if I don't actually need to get into them. So, and I don't think I will. But let's talk about the needles. And this is completely a personal preference thing. And this could be true whether you're talking about basically any kind of short circular. I just don't enjoy it. I don't. For the sleeve itself, I was using this, which I believe is a 16-inch. And I think it's a size 4. I really wish... Okay, here's the thing. I said in a previous episode that I'm becoming something of a needle snob. There's a couple of reasons for that. It's mostly just personal preference. Any needles, any sticks that will get you the result that you want is fine. It doesn't have to be an expensive needle, doesn't have to be a fancy needle, doesn't have to be an interchangeable set, doesn't have to be a circular needle. It can be anything, as long as it's going to get you what you want and be a pleasurable experience to knit with. However, one thing I will say, this is an Addi. I think it's an Addi Turbo. And Addi marks their needle sizes on the little band. So, and it is a transparent band. And I can tell that it was made in Germany. And... okay, I will say I have my contacts in instead of my glasses because of the glare. But this is ridiculous. I realize I'm a 47-year-old woman, but I'm only a 47-year-old woman. I should not have this hard a time trying to figure out. Okay, 2.25 millimeter, which is a US 4. And it's a 40 centimeter, which I do think comes out, I think it's a 16-inch. I love this needle. It is comfortable to work with, and it does do just fine working in its little tight circle. But come on, Addi. Your needles are not cheap. Why are you not laser engraving it on the needle tip itself? It would be so much easier to read. That is one of the reasons why I am a Qiaogu girl, because it's printed right there on the needle. Granted, sometimes it's still hard to tell, especially on smaller needles, but come on, that's ridiculous. So this is the one that I was using for the sleeve itself. And then when I got down to the cuff, obviously the cuff is very small, right? And it goes down to a size 2.5. Which is a 3 millimeter, US 2.5. This one is one from the Knitter's Pride Mindful collection. They have a set of short circulars. It comes in a beautiful case. It's great. The needles are really good. And one of the things that I am very picky about is the join between the needle and the cable. That's one of the reasons that I do really like Qiaogus, whether they're interchangeables or not. They tend to have a very smooth join, and you don't get catching very often. Granted, it's still possible, but I find it to be much less of a problem with the Qiaogus. And I will say the Addis do a good job of that as well. that's actually one of the reasons that I stopped using the regular, used to be Knit Picks, I guess is now Knitter's Pride, interchangeable sets. I had several of their wooden sets in the different colors that they offered years ago, and I did like them, and I used them constantly. They were my needles. They were less expensive than Addie's or Xiaogu's, and they definitely did the job. I did have some instances of the wood actually delaminating at the tip, so let me grab some of those so I can, since apparently we're doing needle talk today. Wasn't anticipating that, but let me grab some needle sets and I'll talk you through what I like and what I don't like. Just a second. Okay, so I have grabbed several sets of interchangeables, and this is one of the ones that I got. I think this might actually be 2 sets. Yeah, this is actually 2 sets that I put in the same case of Knit Picks needles. Now, I did get the extra case. Normally they come in a plastic case, which is fine, but they also, at least at the time, honestly, I haven't looked at Knit Picks in quite a while, so I don't know. I would assume that they still have this this case that you can purchase separately to hold their interchangeable sets. Now, I've had several of these sets, and they are, at least at the time that I bought them, I can't speak to currently, but they are nice and smooth. They have a good join between the metal and the wood, and they do go onto their cables pretty smoothly. So I've had these for a very long time. I've loved them. I've used them a lot. But I have had some issues. I don't think I have one of the ones that delaminated anymore because I pitched it because I couldn't use it anymore. But you can kind of see that the wood is actually layers of wood of different colors put together. And I had an issue where at the tip, some of those layers started to come apart, and it basically frayed the end of the needle. And then it's no good anymore. The other issue that I have had with these on multiple occasions, and this is true for the actual fixed circular needles and the interchangeable needles, is this happens. The metal tip at the end that connects to the cord just comes off. And I have tried re-gluing them, but I can never get them to be, either it ends up not being as smooth because there's some glue that comes out, or it just ends up not really being stuck on there properly again, and then it's essentially useless. So those are some of the issues that I've had. But I mean, both of the ones that are this size, what size is this? This is an 8. So both of the 8s in this set, their tips have come off. And this one I've tried re-gluing several times, and it just won't stay on there. So that's one of the issues that really stopped me from using these needles anymore, because nothing is more frustrating than trying to knit and then literally having the cable fall off your needles. So I stopped using those. All right, this short circular that I've been using, which does do the job. I just don't like doing little tiny knitting on such a little tiny circular because of the way I hold my needles, and I end up working with my fingertips, and it just feels very weird. Very weird and delicate and finicky. But that is from this set, which is Knit Pro, I guess Knitter's Pride now. Their Mindful collection I really, really liked. So here is the set. Hashtag not sponsored. And then all of the needles are housed in here, and then it folds up to be just a little triangle that you can pop in your knitting bag. Oh, and that one wants to come out and play. No, I do not need a size 0 tiny circular right now. You are not needed. And then there's a little bag of tools that comes with it, like stitch markers and little needle gauge and things like that. So, I mean, that's cool. It's if you like knitting tiny things with tiny circulars, it's a good set, and then it magnets closed. So it is a good set. I am a big fan of the Mindful interchangeables. Now, I got these back when the needle stoppers were still wooden. So this is the complete 4-inch set. I generally prefer 4-inch needles just because of the way they feel in my hand. You can tell the size 3 and the size 8 are somewhere, probably in a project on the whip tree. And then again, little bag of tools. I love the concept of a swivel cable where the metal that adjoins the needle will move freely, will swivel freely on its own. I don't really like it in practice because I find that because the cable is loose to allow this to swivel, I end up catching my stitches on the join because the join can't be totally smooth and just go into the cable because the mechanism is there for it to move. It's great in theory, and I've tried it over and over, and I can get by with it, but it's not as enjoyable as an experience for me as just a fixed. But I do really like the Mindful collection, both the fixed, and I have the fixed 40-inch circulars as well, which is a package that looks very much like this, but it's bigger. And then also the interchangeables. And then I did just want to give a brief moment to talk about Hayahayas. These are Hayahaya sharps, and I love a sharp needle. Okay, you guys, I love a sharp needle. I do enjoy lace knitting, and you need a sharp tip for that. These needles are sharp. That is the one thing that I can say. If you want a sharp needle, this is the key. However, especially using some of these smaller points, I do tend to push on my needle tips with my fingertips, and I have punched a hole in my finger with these needles. Okay, so bear that in mind. But if you like a sharp tip, these are good. And what I found really cool about this, it comes with the cables, but it also comes with some straight pieces. So if you wanted to, you could actually attach your tips to this straight piece and use it as a straight needle, which I think is cool. I've never seen that before with any other interchangeable set. I've gotten so used to using circular needles that I don't ever knit with straight needles anymore, but I think it's really cool. And there's they have two different size joins, similar to Xiaogu's. One for the big ones, which have these cute little bandas, and then one for the smaller tips that just have these little ball. And these actually do come out, and then you can use them as a cord stopper. So if you want to take your needle tips off, you can put these on the end. But you can also use them to make straight needles, which is really cool. I wish more companies did that. I think it's really cool. I don't know if I would switch to doing straight knitting, but I'm primarily a sweater knitter, and most sweaters are knit, at least that I knit, are in the round. So that's not going to do me a whole lot of good. But I did want to share that because I got these and I was so excited because they were so sharp, and I thought, oh, all the beaded lace knitting that I do, which I haven't done in years, but at the time, all the beaded lace knitting that I was doing, that would be great to have super, super sharp tips. And it is great. But word of warning, you can punch a hole in your finger pretty easily, with a super sharp tip. So, but this is a Hayahaya as well. And I think this one is also a sharp. So anyway, so this was what I was using on the arm, and that was okay. And then I switched over to a tiny circular for the cuff, and I did not enjoy that. I did try doing magic loop, but I found that it just wasn't working well for me. So I will be honest, this one, I kind of don't want to work on this one next week. I think this one is going to go in the, not back on the whip tree, but I think it's going to go in the pause for a week pile. I think this week I'm going to give myself to work on my second sleeve on my Whitmore sweater, and then I will pick a new whip. Well, or start a new project. Because I'm just that kind of person. I can't decide. There's so many things I want to make. Okay, so we are going to put this back in its bag with its yarn, and I am going to put these 2 needles that I was using right here in the bag so that I don't lose track of them and I remember what I was doing. Okay, and we're going to put the pattern in here as well. Right there. It's not in timeout, it's just pause for a week. So this week, I don't have any new items to show you, no acquisitions, no fun travel to talk about. So I thought, why don't I walk you through what I keep in my knit kit? This little bag goes everywhere with me, at least everywhere that I have knitting with me. And I thought it might be fun just to dump it out and see what I have inside and why I have it inside. So let's do it. Okay, so let's talk about my knit kit. This is an adorable little bag that I got from Bungalow 360 when I was at a fiber festival in Frederick, Maryland with my sister last year. And it had bats on it, so I had to, right? So the first thing that you may notice is this keychain. So this is a keychain that I got that's designed to hold focal beads. Now, quick tip. All these adorable needle stoppers that everybody is selling and everybody seems to be obsessed with, and I can't complain because I am too. They're actually called focal beads. And if you look up focal beads on places like Amazon or Google, you're going to find a ton of options. And a little tip for you, you can get a lot of the more basic designs that are super popular for way cheaper than your local yarn store. Not that I don't think you should go to your local yarn store and support them. I absolutely do. But just a quick tip for you. But every once in a while, you find focal beads that are just, or stitch stoppers, let's say, that are really cool and unique. And this was no different. You know I love Beetlejuice. And here we have some sandworms. Everything is upside down for me as I'm filming this, so this will be interesting. But yeah, some little sandworms. And then this actually, the keychain will unscrew at the top, just like this. And then I can take these off and use them as needle stoppers. So I just store them on here so that I have a couple at the ready. And I will say this gets a little tight because these are a little taller than a lot of others, other needle stoppers that I have or that I have seen. So it is a little bit tight to get that screwed all the way down. But yeah, then that will, I just attached it to the zipper and it makes opening it a lot easier. So let's take everything out and take a look. All right, so these are all the goodies that I have in my knit kit. I don't know why that's in there. That actually doesn't need to be there. That can go away. But here are all of the goodies. So we have a couple of things that have become loose that should actually go back in here. So these little stitch markers and this little T-pin should go in there, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I have a tape measure. Obviously, that is an essential. We have a little tiny, tiny pair of scissors. Fun story for you. When I was flying back from Ireland recently, my bag, my carry-on, was scanned twice, and then it was pulled out for review. And this is what they were concerned about. Now, I'm not saying that because they shouldn't be concerned about it, but within the U.S., you can, according to FAA regulations, you can travel with scissors with blades up to 4 inches long. I have never had an issue within the US traveling with scissors or with knitting needles. Internationally, that can vary a lot. I've heard a lot of stories about people flying to Mexico or Central America and having needles, scissors, everything confiscated at the airport. And I have gone to the UK, to London, several times and flown out of London, and I've never had an issue with anything. But it turned out fine. He just sort of took them out and looked at them and asked me where I was going, and I said the States, and he said, okay, that's fine. And he sort of chuckled a little bit. I think he could see the irony of needle or scissors that are like half, like made, that's not even, well, we've got a tape measure right here. Let's see how long this blade is. Not even an inch. That's getting about 3/4 of an inch on here, for the length of the blades. But internationally, you could run into trouble. So just keep that in mind if you are going to be traveling. Within the US, the FAA website clearly states what you can and cannot take. Knitting needles are fine. Scissors up to 4 inches are fine. But internationally, just keep an eye out. But I always have a little pair of scissors with me. I also have a little tiny, I don't even know what this is called technically. It's just sort of a stitch holder. I have used this before for holding, for example, heel stitches or toe stitches if I am knitting a sock. Ask me how often I do that. Why is this in my knit kit? I don't know. It's been in there for years and I've just never bothered to take it out. But it is a useful little thing to have if you need to hold a few stitches. One other thing I do with this is if I realize that I've had an issue with a stitch somewhere, or if I've dropped a stitch, sometimes I will just, you don't always notice it right where it is if you're knitting something in the round, and somehow, you take it out of your bag and you realize halfway around from where you were, you dropped a stitch. Sometimes I'll just grab this and put this through the stitch so that when I get back to it, as I'm going around, I can fix the problem and it doesn't fall out any further than it already had. So this is not the most useful tool that I have, but it is nice to have something like this. Or you could do the same thing with a removable stitch marker. I have a little needle gauge. Do I use it very often? No, not really, but it's cute. It looks like a little seashell. Also picked this up at the same fiber festival where I got the bag in Frederick, Maryland, which was super fun. I have a little needle fixer. This is one from Lantern Moon. It's just a little crochet hook. But for those dropped stitches, it is definitely a good tool to have. And then I never travel without a few Post-it notes. Here is a fun fact for you. I'm going to move this stuff out of the way and get the little tape measure out again. Fun fact for you, if you are ever traveling and you don't have a ruler, but you do have Post-it notes, this small size Post-it note, which is a very standard size, is 2 inches on the long end and 1.5 inches on the short end. If you have standard sized Post-it notes, the square kind, those are 3 inches on each side. So if you don't have a tape measure, but you know you need to work 3 inches of ribbing, if you have a standard size Post-it note, that's how much ribbing you need. If it's 2 inches, it's going to be the size of this little guy on the long end. We've had a cat join us, in case you were wondering what that jingle was. He's very confused why I'm putting things on the desk and talking about stuff. All right, so that's all of that. So let's talk about what's in this little case. This little case is super cute, but what I will say is the lid comes off very easily. So I actually need to find a different solution to this, because every time I take this out of here, I'm afraid it's going to end up being off of its little pop. And it's going to spill everywhere. So I do need to find a better solution for that. But in here, we have basically just a whole load of stitch markers of various kinds, sizes, descriptions. We have a couple of large Xiaogu needle stoppers, because at the time that I packed this up to go on my last trip to St. Louis, I think I did have something that was using the large cables. But I actually don't need these to be in here anymore, so I'm going to put those back with the needles. But basically, we just have a bunch of T-pins for tightening cords. We have a few removable stitch markers in here. There's a wrong side. There's a little yoga cat. You can tell we've been talking about some of these, and these are some of the ones that I've placed on projects that I've now finished. These were both on the Promiscuous Stripes shawl that I finished and shared with you last week. And then we have this little fun guy. I think that I actually made this one. This was just a charm that I found at, I think, Joann's. Rest in peace. I miss you so much. And then I just put it on a great big lobster claw. And then another little Hank stitch marker that was sent to me as a freebie for an order of stitch markers that I made that we'll talk about at some point in the future when I use those markers. And then, yeah, we've got some light bulb pins. We've got large stitch markers, small stitch markers. Nothing earth-shattering in my little knit kit. I do want to share one other thing. So inside this bag, it's mostly just a big open cavity, and then it does have a pocket over here. And I have just jammed a yarn needle through the fabric. I have a big yarn needle here, and then I have a smaller one up here. So that holds those securely. I had been putting this yarn needle in here, but I kept getting confused trying to grab the right thing, and I kept grabbing T-pins instead of this. So I decided to just stick this right in here, and then when I need my needle, it's easily accessible. So that is what's in my knit kit. So clear this away, put all of these guys back in here. For now, I'll try to come up with a better solution for that very soon. But we'll pack this in here. Oh, there is one item that I haven't talked about. So let me get all the rest of these things in here and then talk about one of the most fantastic, amazing, I was so happy when I saw it items. So this last item is from Magpie Fibers, and it is a glass nail file. I firmly believe that every knit kit needs a nail file of some kind, because you all know there is nothing worse when you are knitting than when you get a little crack or a little catch in your nail and it catches on your yarn and it drives you absolutely crazy. So I love the fact that this particular yarn store actually had little branded Magpie Fibers cases made for this. The nail files are branded as well. Not that they have to be, any nail file will do, but I love that the yarn store thought about that and created these. I absolutely love that. Magpie Fibers, actually, I think I'm going to get their advent calendar for this year, and I have some plans for December with you that I hope will come to fruition and be fun. But I think I'm going to get their yarn advent. But one of the things that they do that I've never seen anybody else do before is they actually have nail polishes that match some of their colors. Now, I realize that is very extra, right? That is so beyond extra. But I have to admit, it's kind of fun when your nail polish matches your knitting. It's just a little indulgence. It's a little, and it doesn't have to be, yarn branded nail polish to do that. But I love the fact that they've thought about that and that they've actually got, and I have a few bottles of it. But I love the fact that they've thought about that. When you're looking at your hands while you're knitting the whole time, you want to have, you want to be able to fix if you get a catch or a split in your nail, or you break a nail, and you also can have your nail polish match your knitting, which the little extra part of me just absolutely loves that. So this lives in my knitting bag as well, and it all fits in here very nicely, and that is what's in my little bat knitting bag. So that is what is in my little knit kit that I have with me at all times when I am knitting. It's small, it can easily get tossed in my purse or a project bag, and that's all the little fun stuff that's in it. So there you go. little fun thing for today, hopefully. So it is now time to decide if I'm going to start something new, or am I going to pick a whip from the whip tree this week to go along with my second sleeve on my Whitmore sweater. This I do want to work on this week because I think it'll be pretty quick and simple to get the second sleeve done, and then it'll be finished. It'll just need to be blocked and it'll be done. So I can check another one off my list hopefully next week. But let's find out whether I should finish a whip or start something new. This is a fun little thing that I found at my local yarn store, and it's just a little coin, wooden coin from Katrinkles that one side says start something new, the other side says finish a whip. So let's find out what we're gonna do. We are gonna finish a whip. Okay, so that means that we need the little 20-sided die and our little tray, and let's see what project we're gonna end up doing this week. Number 8. All right, number 8. Let's see. All right. Here is bag number 8. Let's see what this is. Oh, this is going to be a good one. I've got more happy little bees coming to me this week. I love it. All right, so this is the Alchemist sweater by Wool & Pine. I love Wool & Pine. They just released very recently a new pattern called the Mixtape Tee, and I'm dying to do it. But it's yet another new project, and I have a lot of new projects that I want to get to. So I did get the pattern, but I'm trying to hold myself back from from getting all excited and wanting to start that one. But this is the Alchemist pullover, and I am using some really fun yarn that I bought ages ago. I want to say that I got this yarn on one of my first trips to London, probably 2017. I have to just take a moment. So this little project bag is from a yarn store that used to be in the St. Louis area. This was when we would visit my husband's family. This was like one of my go-to yarn stores. It was called Notorious. I loved it. Unfortunately, COVID killed it. But this was such a great store. If anyone has been there in the past, you know, it was a great store. It had a great vibe. They had great selection, and rest in peace to Notorious, because I miss them every time I go to St. Louis. I wish they were still there because they were great. But this is a great little project bag with our little number 8 on it. But this yarn is from La Bien-Aimée, and I bought this at Loop London, probably 2017, somewhere in there. The color is Drogon, which I think, don't quote me, I think it's French for dragon. I could be totally wrong about that. But this is DK weight, 100% superwash merino, 252 yards, and it's 115 grams. But I loved the color, this dark gray or the lighter gray with sort of dark brown, blacky elements, and then these little pops of like this magenta color. I just think it's so cool. And I had held on to this for the right project forever and ever and ever, and finally decided that the Alchemist pullover was going to be it. So I'm not even sure where I am on this. I have balls of yarn. Okay, so we're doing alternating rows on a sleeve, looks like. And then we also have the body. I have so many like ends of things happening here. I have no idea what's going on. Okay, so let's see where we are. All right, so this is the current state of affairs. Oh, I see what's going on. Okay, so I have, again, I am going to be on Sleeve Island again this week with happy little V sleeves, and I'm delighted about that because they go quickly and they're fun. So I have the shoulder shaping and the yoke and everything done. This has a really pretty shoulder to it. We have the neckband in. Do we start with the neckband, or did I put that in separately already? Yep, I did that already. You do that last. I tend to do the neckband very early in the project, pretty much as soon as I'm ready to split for sleeves. I go ahead and put the neckband in, because I find that the neckband can make such a difference to how the project actually fits when you try it on. In some cases, it really helps sort of pull it together. With some V-necks, especially if they're a big V-neck, like a wider or deeper V-neck, the neckline makes such a huge difference to how it actually fits and drapes. So I went ahead and put the neckband in. It looks like I've got a good bit of progress on my first sleeve. And I think that's why I have these cables, this weird cable situation happening at the bottom. I put it on 2 separate long circular needles so that I could try it on, because I want to make sure that I'm happy with the length. And I wasn't sure with the length of the sleeve where I would want the body to hit. I'm remembering this now. So that's why I haven't finished the body yet. But we have a lot of things going on. We have a lot of stuff attached to itself. You know what? Let me try this on and see where we're going to go from here. Let me grab my yarn. Yeah, let me do a quick change. I'll be right back with you. Okay, so this is where we're currently sitting. Let me move my chair out of the way. Have lots of strings attached to my arm, but this is where we're currently sitting with this. Very pleased with it. I think this length might be good to go ahead and do the ribbing. The sleeve, obviously, I want more length on this, but I really like the way it's fitting. Again, not blocked yet, but it doesn't feel too big. It actually, I'm going to get a lot of wear out of this because this is super comfortable. This is really comfortable already, and it's not even done yet. I might want to add a little bit more length before the ribbing. How much ribbing do we add to this? Let's see. Six and a half inches on the front. Oh, it's a split hem. Okay, so we have 6.5 inches of ribbing in the front and 7 inches in the back. Maybe that's why I split it onto the 2. It does make it easier to try it on. Maybe that's why I split it, because we've got a split hem that's going to be happening. So, yeah, super. I think I can get this finished this week. I think I can, because we've got, what, a few more inches and then ribbing on the cuff for one sleeve. The other sleeve, which is just stockinette with some decreases, and then ribbing. And I think if the ribbing is 6.5 inches, where the body is hitting right now is totally fine, because that's going to add a lot. I may not even do quite that much. That's going to add quite a bit. Super happy. I'm so happy I picked this one. I'm going to have such a happy little V week, and I'm just looking forward to it so much, because I'm telling you, that Mabel sweater, I adore it, and I'm going to love it when it's done. I don't want to do ribbing that much anymore. Granted, I'm going to have ribbing here, but I'm not going to have to think about a 4-row pattern repeat on the ribbing. It's just going to be ribbing. Are we 2x2? Are we 2x2? I think yes, we are 2x2. So that's brilliant. Yes. All right. So let me pop back into my t-shirt, collect all my strings. Yeah, I'm happy with that. All right. I am delighted. I get to have a happy little V week, and that has just made my world so much better. I love the happy little V's of stockinette. They bring such joy to my world. And 2x2 ribbing will be a nice break from the 1x1 that I have been doing. So I'm really looking forward to this week. This is going to be so much fun. I can't wait to check in with you again next week, and I can update you. Maybe I will have my Whitmore sweater done and my Alchemist pullover done. How about that? We'll see if that happens, but I think the odds are pretty good. I'm very excited about that. You can tell I've been trying on clothes. My hair's been getting frizzier and and worse this whole time. All right, so we will put our pattern back in the bag. Our one remaining skein but then we do have these two that we've been alternating. So I think I'm going to be okay. And then, yeah, let's pop this back in here. It's a bit of a monstrosity, I won't lie, right now. There's a whole lot going on. There's a whole lot of needle stoppers and things and stuff. Oh, I need to mark where I am. Hold on. Okay, so let me grab a fun little removable stitch marker out of my drawer. What should we do? We will do a little pink yarn ball. I believe this is from Yarncom. All right, and we will put this one right on here on the last stitch stitched, right on there. All right, and then, yeah, I'll throw a couple more on here on the body. A couple more little yarn balls in blue and green just to go on the front and the back, so I can see how much progress I have made this week. And you know, the important thing is not making tons of progress. I'm doing this, and I do tend to make a fair amount of progress when I put my mind to it with knitting, because I knit pretty fast, and I do knit a lot. But, you know, it's not a race. It's not a race. Every stitch is important. And, you know, even sometimes the time that you don't spend knitting is important. In fact, I would venture to say the time you spend not knitting may be more important than the time you spend knitting. So never compare yourself to other people. Do things at your own speed. And if you haven't knitted anything this year, and you just like thinking about knitting and planning knitting, and, you know, that's fine. It's not a race. I like to see how much I can get done, but it does take time. And time is the one resource that you're never going to get more of. So spend your time doing what you enjoy and the things that are important to you. And yeah, if you haven't knitted at all this year, this week, this decade, it's okay. When the time is right, you will. So I have this all marked up, and I am going to be spending some of my time this week working on this. And yeah, let's see next week how much I have been able to do. Yeah. If you want to share what you are currently working on, you can leave me a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you would like to join me on this amazing yarny journey that I am on in my life. And before we go, there is one more thing that we need to do, and that is pick out this week's card from the Knitter's Oracle. So let's take a look. I did look. This is from I believe it's the Wild Hunt design on Etsy. But I did look at their page the other day, and this is no longer listed. So I don't know if they just don't make these anymore. I don't know if they're sold out. I have no idea. But I love these little cards. I think they're so much fun, and I love sharing them with you. So let's see what this week will bring, other than another voyage to Sleeve Island. So let's take a look. What have we got? We have the needles. That is a very important part of knitting. If you don't have that, you're not going to get very far. So let's see the needles. Where are we here? Something necessary, the missing piece. That makes sense. If you don't have this, you're definitely missing an important piece. A new revelation, liberation, and freedom. Keep in mind, knitting is all about freedom. It's all about freedom. You are free to do whatever you want with your knitting, with whatever yarn you want to use, whether that is leftover yarn from a previous project, whether that is yarn that you have salvaged from a thrift store sweater, whether that is yarn that you bought on clearance at Walmart, or whether that is yarn that you bought at the most exclusive yarn store in the entire world. It is all about freedom, and I hope you enjoy the upcoming week. I'm going to pop this right up on the little thing right there. We can just pretend that it's there. Because I don't want to get up again right now. But yes, I wish for you all of those things. And until we speak again next time, I hope you have a phenomenal week. I'm so glad that you've chosen to join me. And until we speak again, keep making magic with sticks and string. Bye.